Hey, what's up, ghouls and gals? Today I take on Marvel's smallest hero, Ant-Man. Well, to start off with, I'll tell you the cast of the movie if you didn't know yet. Michael Douglas plays Hank Pym, the original Ant-Man. Paul Rudd plays Scott Lang, also he is the new Ant-Man. And Evangeline Lilly plays Hope Van Dyne, which is Hank Pym's daughter. She also plays, spoilers, Wasp, which we don't get to see her actually be Wasp. We just get told in the mid-credit scene that she will become Wasp. So I'm guessing that somewhere in the Civil War movie, she'll be seen alongside Paul Rudd, or should I say Scott Lang, as his sidekick. And also the movie stars Corey Stoll, who plays Darren Cross, who's also Yellow Jacket, who we'll get into a little bit later. And there's Michael Pena, who plays Lewis, who's really just an original character made for the Ant-Man movie. And I read an interview the other day, and he had said that the reason that he was a part of the film was that the writer and the director of the film had seen him in a movie called Observe and Report with Seth Rogen, and they liked his performance in that movie so much they wanted to put him in this movie. So they made this whole new role for him, and I gotta say, he's pretty funny in the movie, and usually Paul Rudd is the one that's the funny guy in this movie. And to be honest with you, in this movie, Paul Rudd, he's charming as fuck, but he's more of a straight character. Think Robert Downey Jr. in Iron Man 3, where it was more Tony Stark than actual Iron Man. Which made sense for this movie because, for the most part, nobody's really heard of Ant-Man. I know of Ant-Man, but I know very little of Ant-Man. So this movie kind of gave me a little bit of more information on a character that's actually a lot better than what I initially thought. Also, another person that stars in the movie is T.I., and I don't remember his name in the movie, but he is just one of Scott Lang's robbery entourage. He's helped him on a couple of jobs and stuff like that. And he comes into play later on in the movie. Towards the end, he plays a good part at the end. But he's a good character in that movie. He does decent in that movie. I like him. And there's also another guy, I don't remember his name, but he's funny too. He plays the hacker kind of guy. And the thing that I wanted to start off with by saying was that the way that this movie kind of ties in everything together is that this is the end of Phase 2. So that means everything from Iron Man 1... From Iron Man 1 to Avengers, the first Avengers, that was the end of Phase 1. And so the beginning of Phase 2 would have been like after the Avengers, so it would be like Thor, Guardians of the Galaxy, Captain America, Winter Soldier, basically all the movies that have came out after Avengers 1. And so the end of the, excuse me, Phase 2 is Ant-Man. And the way that this ties into the MCU is that you see a whole bunch of little subtle nods and references to the Avengers. And what I liked a lot about this movie that got me excited for this movie was that in itself was them talking about other Avengers. I think even at one point he fucking references the actual team, the Avengers. He says, "Wouldn't we be better just calling the Avengers to help you out?" And then Michael Douglas, Hank Pym, says like, this isn't the Iron Man suit, some little cute technology, this is an actual invention, and blah blah blah. He goes on and on about it. Also, the thing that's cool, the opening scene, we see Michael Douglas, Hank Pym, talking to a couple of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, and they're being typical government dickheads. They want to use his Pym particle and his Ant-Man suit for bad, which we find out that he became kind of like a government lackey, and he carries out missions for the government. And we also see Agent Carter from the first and second Captain America movie. She comes out and plays a cameo here in favor of the superheroes, saying that they can't do this. They can't do this to the old Ant-Man and use his technology for bad. So it's kind of, there you go, more playing into the storyline of Civil War, where there's some people with the idea that they want to restrain these heroes and put laws on these heroes, and there's other people like on the side of Agent Carter where they're for these heroes and say that we don't need to know who they are, we do not need to put any laws that restrain them. Also, the movie, it's pretty funny. It's more family friendly than I thought. I think it might have a PG or PG-13 rating. I'm not too sure, but to be honest with you, Paul Rudd carries this movie. He carries this whole entire fucking film from From the beginning to the end, I mean, he is the movie. I mean, he's very fucking charming in the movie. And not to say that Evangeline isn't good in the movie, it's just, I just thought she looked too fucking old to be in this movie. And they kind of put this whole romantic thing on it at the end, when it's kind of just like, they never really looked like they were going to be romantic with each other, but you knew that they were going to be romantic with each other, so that kind of fucking pissed me off, because it was kind of like, there doesn't always have to be a romantic love interest. It's cool if it works for the story, but if it doesn't, it doesn't. Maybe work on it in another movie, because in this movie it kind of didn't really, you knew it was going to happen, but it didn't, like, it wasn't organic. And my other problem was, we saw the fucking villain of all of like 2 seconds. Yellow Jacket comes out like at the very end, and Ant-Man kicks his ass by going subatomic and coming back. And there's another thing that bothers me about that. How the fuck does he have these little disc gadgets, the red and the blue one, that can grow stuff and shrink stuff, and he never talks about when he makes these. And those are the gadgets that Ant-Man uses, Scott Lang, to get out of the subatomic realm. He uses the grow one to grow bigger. And I was just thinking, his wife died by going subatomic. How come she couldn't use that red thing to get bigger? Like, did they not have that technology then? Did they just not have it perfected? Was it not even an idea? Did he just make it? They never explained that. It's just kind of there. So that kind of bothered me about that. Other than that, the plot holes in this movie are very minimal, because they're trying to connect this so much to all the other movies. Speaking of the other movies, they again connected it by having Scott Lang as Ant-Man infiltrate what he thought at first was an abandoned S.H.I.E.L.D. warehouse, where they were trying to find some sort of, I think they called it a Cortex or some sort of gadget that they needed to help him fight against the Yellow Jacket suit. And they find out that this is the new Avengers headquarters that we see in Avengers 2, at the end of Avengers 2. And luckily, nobody's there. Nobody's there. But there is somebody there. The fucking Falcon pops out of nowhere, and he's like, "Ah!" No, he doesn't do that, but I wish he did do that, because that'd be kind of cool. But he comes out of nowhere, and then he sees Ant-Man, and at first, like, Ant-Man doesn't want to fight him, and then Ant-Man's like, you know what, like, he goes for it, and then he quickly beats him. He gives him a couple of good shrink punches and all that good stuff. And not to say that Falcon doesn't put up a fight, but Falcon kind of gets his ass handed to him. Once Ant-Man shrinks down, goes into his tech and destroys it, Falcon's pretty useless after that. So, I mean, that was a cool little nod too. And towards the end, they had a thing where it showed that Lewis was telling Ant-Man, or Scott Lang, that he had heard through the grapevine, basically, that Falcon was asking about Ant-Man. And he was just like, okay, cool, tell me about him. And in that scene, they also made a reference to Spider-Man. So letting the people that don't know that he's joining the Marvel Universe. So that was cool too. And there's also a mid-credit scene where we see that Evangeline, who's very undeveloped in this movie. Like, we know who she is, but we don't really know who she is. So it's kind of like weird. They kind of just fit her in like where they can. And I didn't like that, but I liked the movie, so the movie was good. So in the mid-credit scene, we see Hank Pym, Michael Douglas, and Evangeline Hope Van Dyne at his secret dwelling, and he's telling her about how her mom was the Wasp, and how they were worked on a new suit, and how he feels that she should take up the mantle. So basically setting it up that she's going to come out. So I'm going back to what I was saying earlier, that she's going to come back, she will be seen in another movie. And then also, there was an end credit scene that I didn't stay for, because I'm a fucking idiot. The end credit scene, from what I've researched and from what I've been told, shows Falcon, Captain America, the Winter Soldier, that's right, the Winter Soldier's back, in some sort of warehouse where we see the Winter Soldier being questioned by Cap and Falcon, and we hear Falcon allude to them needing Ant-Man to join the Avengers. They need him for some sort of mission. They don't really give too much information on it, they just kind of say that they need him. So all of that is very exciting. I thought that was very, very cool. Just like I said, the plot holes, the inconsistencies that some of it had, and kind of like the underdeveloped characters. But other than that, the movie was good. It was a good movie. It had good effects. It was a good introduction to this character. And Paul Rudd killed it as Ant-Man, and it's pretty good. I kind of want to see where they go with this character and how he evolved, and if he gets better, and maybe if he even becomes Big Man. For those of you who don't know, Big Man is an alter ego of Ant-Man, who's the opposite of Ant-Man. He gets bigger instead of smaller, so maybe he'll be able to do that now that he's figured out to put that gadget inside of the belt. But it's all interesting to see, and the next Marvel movie I think that we're gonna see is Civil War. Should be coming out. Civil War was gonna be coming out, where we're gonna see Captain America, Iron Man, Spider-Man, Ant-Man, just everybody I think is gonna come out of that movie. It's gonna be so fucking crowded and overpacked, but it's gonna be amazing to see what they do with that. Other than that, I give the movie like a good 8.5 out of 10. It was a good, solid movie. It had fun parts. It had serious parts. It had parts that made you feel like, oh man, this guy could really do this. So it was a good movie. I suggest you go see it, but I suggest that you go and watch Avengers 2 before you watch this, because this relies heavily on like referencing Avengers 2. So I suggest you go and see Avengers 2, or at least refresh yourself and re-watch Avengers 2 before you go and watch Ant-Man. And I'm sorry, today wasn't a very funny review. It was more of a serious review, because I wanted to get this information out there more correctly. And so my next movie review will be more of a back to more of an entertainment. So this one was more of a news type review, but just so you know, just so you could get caught up, and like I said, I wanted to explain this movie and explain its position in the MCU. So now you know. So there you go. Alright guys, that's going to do it for me. Oh, and I wanted to talk about one thing before I go. We finally reached our goal of 1,000+ followers on Twitter, so now we're going to go after every other social media site that we're on and just beat it up on that one and just get after it and do the best that we can, because eventually I want to be able to build an audience that's so big and so informed and knows about all the cool stuff that they want to know about, and that we can just all be linked and all know things that we want to know, that we're interested in. And so I'm going to keep on letting some content out, and I'm going to keep on working at it, and eventually and hopefully I'll have enough money and enough things going to where I could let out some merchandise and let it out for free if I can, just like give it away. So look out for that. I want to make some shirts, I want to make some stickers and all that good stuff, so look out for that, guys. Thanks. Stay weird.